This is Rummy's Corner.
I don't know shit about boxing. Day of Reckoning wound up being a fun and entertaining day of boxing. A very welcome treat during a time of year where we don't typically have any boxing. In the first bout, Junior Fa proved to be a tricky customer for Frank Sanchez, but the Cuban Flash found the mark with a big right that dropped Fa in round 6. And Sanchez scored a couple of more knockdowns in the following round, and after the third knockdown, the fight was waved off. With that victory, Sanchez's record improved to a perfect 24-0, with 17 wins coming by way of knockout. And while I do not expect him to figure into title contention in the immediate future, the victory is definitely a step in the right direction, where he may figure in more prominently down the line. The next bout proved to be a complete and total mismatch as expected, where Filip Hrgović stopped Mark de Mori in round 1. This was just a stay busy fight for Hrgović, who is the IBF mandatory challenger. Hrgović improved to 17-0 with 14 wins inside the distance. And he will get his shot sooner than later, with the expectation being that it will be for the vacant IBF belt after Fury and Usyk have their first fight. Next up, Opetaia made quick work of undefeated Ellis Zorro, with Opetaia stopping him in round 1. Opetaia is a powerhouse who is widely regarded as the best cruiserweight in the world. He is the rightful lineal cruiserweight champion, and he improved to a perfect 24-0 with 19 wins coming by way of knockout. There are still some good fights available for him at cruiserweight, but I wouldn't be surprised if Opetaia winds up making the jump to heavyweight sooner than later. In one of the big upsets of the night, Arslanbek Makhmudov got absolutely battered by Agit Kabayel. It was a very clever performance from Kabayel that saw him drop Makhmudov 3 times before the fight was mercifully stopped. It was a sensational effort from Kabayel, and I for one was mighty impressed by the performance. With the victory, he improved to a perfect 24-0 with 16 wins coming inside the distance, and I have no doubt that he will get another big opportunity in the not-too-distant future. Next up, Dubous bounced back and rebounded nicely with a dominant effort against Jarrell Miller. Dubous was able to cleverly outwork and outmaneuver Miller, whose plotting efforts were no match for the superior skill set exhibited by Dubous. Late in the fight, Dubous was really turning it up, and the fight was ultimately stopped late in the 10th and final round. Following his one-sided loss at the hands of Usyk, it was a strong performance from Dubous, whose record is now improved to 20-2 with 19 wins coming inside the distance. Dubous will inevitably get another big opportunity as he looks to rebuild and work his way back into title contention. After that, WBA super duper light heavyweight champion Dmitrii Bivol put forth a dominant effort against challenger Lyndon. The difference in class was on full display throughout the contest, with Bivol pitching a complete shutout. Bivol did manage to score a knockdown late in the 11th round, but he was unable to close the show and Arthur survived until the final bell. At the end of 12 rounds, it was indeed a literal shutout, with all 3 judges scoring the bout 120 to 107 in favor of the champion. With Beterbiev scheduled to defend his unified light heavyweight crown against Callum Smith in just a few short weeks, hopefully we get to see Bivol square off against the winner for undisputed supremacy at 175. In the co-feature main event, former WBO heavyweight champion Joseph Parker thoroughly outclassed former WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder. Parker used a clever blend of movement and maneuvering to completely neutralize the lethal right hand of Wilder. Parker was patient and methodical, and he was very selective with his output, while ensuring he was never a stationary target lingering in Wilder's optimal punching range. Parker's tactics left Wilder looking confused and unsure of himself. And amazingly, there was never any real sense of urgency from Wilder or his corner. Parker never really needed to take things out of first gear and he dominated the fight. At the end of 12 rounds, Parker was awarded a unanimous decision with scores of 118 to 111, 118 to 110, and 120 to 108. It was a career-best victory for Joseph Parker, and since losing to Joe Joyce, Parker has now won 4 in a row this year, where his record improves to 34-3 with 23 wins coming inside the distance. It was a tremendous 2023 for Joseph Parker, and he is right back in the mix of top heavyweights competing today. And then finally in the main event, Anthony Joshua looked as great as he has looked in years when he dominated Otto Wallin. Indeed, Joshua looked as sharp and focused and determined as he has looked to me since his career-defining victory against Vladimir Klitschko nearly 7 years ago now. AJ easily outboxed Otto where his technical superiority was on full display. Joshua had him looking mentally deflated early on, and Joshua commanded the fight with great authority. Of course, we could not hear a great deal of the commentary when DAZN experienced some technical issues on the audio side, but that did not prevent us from seeing the action unfold with Anthony Joshua arguably looking better than ever. After round 5 concluded, Otto's corner called it a night, and Anthony Joshua's record improved to 27-3, with 24 wins coming by way of knockout. For AJ, this is 3 wins in a row since losing back-to-back bouts against Usyk, and AJ is undoubtedly right back in contention. So once again, I ain't no Quasimodo. I picked the correct winner in 5 out of 8, but in truth, almost none of them played out the way I expected. Well, Hrgović and Mori did. To quote the late great Hall of Fame trainer Emanuel Stewart, that one went exactly like I expected. And to a slightly lesser extent, Frank Sanchez beating Junior Fa and Opetaia destroying Zorro, those went more or less like I expected. And then to a much lesser extent, I thought Bivol would earn the accumulation stoppage, and that didn't happen. But I did not expect Bivol to otherwise have any problems in that one. But as for the rest of the fights, I was impressed by Dubous. I really thought Miller as a choice of opponent was a bad idea for a rebound fight following his loss against Usyk, but I could not have been more wrong about that one. Dubous looked really good, and all things considered, he ended the year on a high note. Then I was mighty impressed by the spectacular performance from Kabayel. Not so much because of who he beat, as Makhmudov was not especially proven, but it was the manner of the victory that really impressed me. Kabayel made it look easy, and he displayed some damn fine skills in terms of strategy, execution, and ring smarts, where he worked very elegantly upstairs and down to systematically dismantle Makhmudov. Great victory for Kabayel, and I am really looking forward to seeing where he goes from here. I was likewise mighty impressed by Joseph Parker. I did not believe that Parker would fare well in this one. Indeed, I picked Deontay to stop Parker in round 2, and that did not happen. Nothing of the sort. Parker completely neutralized that right hand, and otherwise coasted by being consistent and almost always having a positional advantage. Parker proved me wrong, and he displayed the type of mental strength and self-belief and will to win that I did not believe he was capable of at this point. It was a tremendous victory for Joseph Parker, and for Deontay Wilder, this might well represent the end of the road. Since winning his rematch against Ortiz more than 4 years ago now, Wilder has lost 3 of his last 4, with his lone victory coming against Robert Helenius. If this isn't the end of the road for Deontay, I think the end is getting near. But for Joseph Parker, it was the biggest win in his career, and he has rebounded very nicely since the major setback he had suffered at the hands of Joe Joyce. And then finally, Anthony Joshua made a big statement. I expected this to be a close and competitive affair, and it was nothing of the sort. Joshua seized command early, never looked back, and he beat Otto down both physically and mentally. AJ bounced back nicely with an outstanding 2023. And as a final thought, I mentioned previously that with AJ facing a former Fury opponent and Wilder facing a former AJ opponent, that this would add fuel to the fire regarding the debate that basically boiled down to 2 schools of thought. where one side viewed Usyk and AJ as the true elite talents in the division, and the other side viewed Fury and Wilder as the two elite talents in the division. Now, with AJ easily winning against a man Fury had some difficulty with, and after Parker pitched a shutout against Wilder, the perception has shifted profoundly in that regard, especially when you consider Tyson Fury's subpar performance against boxing novice Francis Ngannou. To this, I would simply say, I'm not inclined to get too carried away with any boxing arguments predicated on triangle theories, especially when an argument is based on a multitude of separate and sometimes overlapping triangles. Just a few short months ago, people were making the same type of comparisons regarding Wilder and AJ's respective victories against Helenius. But at the end of the day, perception runs supreme. And the perception following the Boxing Day of Reckoning is that AJ and Usyk's resumes get a huge boost based on these results. And Fury and Wilder's resumes have taken a big hit. That's the reality following the event, where AJ and Usyk are now being held in higher esteem, whereas Fury and Wilder are being viewed as an inferior tier. But it is interesting that as this era seems to be nearing its end, we got to see some relatively young heavyweights who may take over when the dust ultimately settles after the Fury-Usyk rivalry. Frank Sanchez, Agit Kabayel, Jai Opetaia, and especially Joseph Parker and Anthony Joshua. All of these guys may figure in when the Fury-Usyk dust settles. And I, for one, look forward to seeing what happens next in the heavyweight division. So what did you think of the Boxing Day of Reckoning? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful night. May 2024 bring us some outstanding boxing, and have a very happy new year, everyone. Rock on, be safe. This is Rummy's Corner.
You know, Quasimodo predicted all this.